And then in that 15 years, also was born a son named Manasseh. Manasseh became the king after Hezekiah. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became the king, so he was born after the 15 years started. And this Manasseh was one of the most evil kings in the kingdom of Judah. So, he's showing off to the envoy from Babylon, caused him to lose all that riches and the wealth of Judah to the king of Babylon. Later, it backfired on him and he lost all that wealth. And secondly, Manasseh, the son who became king, was one of the most evil men or evil king in all of Judah. So, ask the question again. Is it better if Manasseh had died 15 years earlier or after the 15 years were granted? See, what could not have happened in that 15 years that was granted to Hezekiah. That we sometimes proudly proclaim Hezekiah was a godly man, that his prayer was answered. But God's plan, if Hezekiah had not prayed, is that Hezekiah would have died 15 years earlier. That was God's plan. And now Hezekiah got his wish. You remember what we tell each other sometime? Be careful what you pray for, because you may what? Have you ever thought about the fact that you may be that person? You see, God may give you what you pray for. And then what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to you? God has no plan B. He allows our wants sometimes just to teach us a lesson. The ultimate will of God, finally Hezekiah died anyway. But because of that 15 years, it changed the course of many, many lives. Because a man, a person of God, so dissatisfied with God's decision in his life, asked to prolong his life, and he did. And the Bible says when Isaiah told Hezekiah what's going to happen, he thought, well, I'm not going to be around to suffer what's going to happen later. So that's a good decision from the Lord to me, Isaiah, because I know I'm not going to be around to face the wrath of this nation that's going to run over and defeat the kingdom of Judah. So self-centered prayers can change things, but will it be changes for good or for bad? I think we need to be careful that when we sense God's direction in our lives and we don't like it, if you sense the fact that God wants you to go one direction, you don't like it, before we try to tell God our wants and our desires, maybe we need to think it through. Is this a Hezekiah situation? What will this decision do? Will it bless people in the long run, or will it do more harm? You remember the story of the first king of Israel, King Saul. 1 Samuel 8, that chapter. Samuel was dying. His son were not following the ways of God. The elders of the country came to him and say, select a king for us. Your sons are doing evil things. They want the king. Samuel was hurt, but God said, Samuel, they're not resenting you. They're resenting me. They don't want me to be their king. Give them what they want. And the Lord, through Samuel, gave them what they want after he warned them of what this king will do. For you and for me, before we petition God to change things, to change other people, to change our circumstances, I think we need to sit down first and ask ourselves some serious questions. What will this decision, what will this change mean? And I believe changing things may satisfy us for a minute or for a while, but in the long run, it will do more damage, more harm than good. Self-centered prayers can change things, but will that change be good in the long run or bad? What kind of praying do you do? What you want or what he wants? Then there's the other kind of praying. We'll call it God-centered praying. This changes you, changes me. Matthew 26, 37 through 39 and 42. Would you read that together with me, please? Ready, begin. He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little farther and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. Then Jesus left them a second time and prayed, my Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, you will be done. And you also remember he went back the third time praying, saying the same thing. The difference in the two prayers, the difference in the two men. Both men cried, were in anguish. One insists on his desires. The other one gave up his desires for the Father's desire.